we don't have a mic that can move beyond this end of the room. These mics are on cords. So we have two options. People can speak very loudly from where they are, and I hope you can do that. Or you can come down front and use these mics that are down in this end of the room. We wanted to be, Garden and I wanted to sit in this end of the room, especially because Garda's voice is soft, so she'll need a mic. And anybody whose voice is soft should come down to this end of the room to use a mic. We're going to begin our program with some music. And just to set the mood, what's his name? Gustavo? Can you play for us something to begin the program this morning? It should be something revolutionary.
Well, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Yes, this is revolutionary. So it's just, I think that every morning when we wake up in the morning, somehow in our own way, I think we all have a moment of silence, whether we know it or not. And there's a period in the day, in the morning, whether it is that you do a formal meditation practice or a spiritual practice, but there's some type of small space of silence in the beginning of the day, and that's where we make a choice in the beginning of the day as to how we proceed with our lives, whether we know it or not. And so I know that this morning we all had that moment of silence, that moment of space within us to contemplate those things or to regain ourselves. And what I'm going to do now is just perform a song that has to do with revolution. And I know that it's something that you guys have been cooking up in there since the morning. And so all this is just a humble effort to voice this, but it doesn't supersede the fact that we all hear the truth in our own way. And we're all tapped into this notion of revolution in our own way because of our calling for it. So this is just kind of an honor to that. It's called Imagination. It's not a matter of decision making, it's a matter of position taking. It's not a matter of decision making, it's a matter of position taking. I got a feeling that you ain't heard enough roots rock music to make it change the world. I got a feeling that you ain't heard enough roots rock music to make it change the world. Get up, stand up, get up, stand up. You might have heard John Lennon's Imagine, Bob Marley and the Wailers stirring up the masses. You might have heard some Talib Kweli, Nina Simone and DC Sweet Honey. You might have heard 89.3 Jazz and Revolution running the morning and earth beat. The city street is hard, my brother. It can handle what you rock, it can handle what you utter. I see you walking, you're talking your peace. Some of you running, some of you rolling for justice in your seat. But we need to march, start marching to the beat. Move with one heart as one collective body. You bring your posters and I'll bring my guitar. We can all bring something, bring your neighbors. It's not a matter of decision making, it's a matter of position taking. It's not a matter of decision making, it's a matter of position taking. Yo, I got a feeling that you ain't heard enough roots rock music to make it change the world. I got a feeling that you ain't heard enough roots rock music to make it change the world. You've got a mind, you can picture it. Got imagination, don't be afraid to use it. Clearly imagine I'm feeling nostalgic, I'm merging the fragments, compassion is grasping. Clearly imagine the earth is a garden, all your thoughts come to harvest. The soul behind politics sees the season, we come to fruition. The birth to idea, ideation and reason. Effective aesthetics, peace and love ethics. A vision of peace is the fruit we will eat. The violence we see one day we shall see cease, recede. Like the thinning of the hair on a forehead, like the ocean drinking your organs. This too we have seen. What more fear could there be then? After 9/11 and Bush's re-election, there was a bang in the beginning of time with the beautiful intention. Need I then mention? Make a bang for revolution, for a new creation as a way towards salvation. The word nation is found in the word imagination. My people, the word nation is found in the word imagination. My people, the word nation is found in the word imagination. My people, the word nation is found in the word imagination. Don't come to stagnation. Revolution in the wake up. 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 Try revolution in the wake of doing nothing. Try revolution in the place of doing nothing. Try revolution in the place of doing nothing. Try revolution in the place of doing nothing. Of doing nothing, yeah, yeah. Of doing nothing, yeah, yeah.
Most of you know, the reason that I organize this conference is simply because I feel that the present situation in our country is no longer tolerable. There's only so long that we can keep saying to each other that criminals are running the country. You know, I mean, I think the time to keep repeating that is finished. It's exhausted. And I really do believe that some kind of revolution is required now. And I tell this to many people. I tell this to the checkout people at Kroger's. And if a congressperson, if a contractor comes to my house, I tell him. And you wouldn't believe it, but generally people agree, and they say, yes, we need a revolution in this country. So in my opinion, it's like a wave, or it's like a growing zeitgeist that's taking over the country, and so I feel that we should accelerate that, because it's a healthy thing. We can bring something better. We can create something better here than what we've got now. And so my question to you is, you know, how do we do it? That's what I want to know from you. That's what I want you to tell me this morning. How do we do this?
Let's start with George Ripley in the back.
Well, I'd like to underscore democracy, because, and I'd like to point out the centerpiece of one of the presidential campaigns is the empowerment of all of us through the National Ballot Initiative. Go to it very simply. You can go to see it at vote.org. This is obviously a significant web address, vote.org, very simple. And please spread the word on it. Senator Gravel, the fellow that read the Pentagon Papers into the national record and filibustered single-handedly for 5 months against the draft, he's the reason there aren't boots on the ground in Iran right now, has left the Senate and worked for 15 years through his frustration to develop a constitutional amendment which guarantees every citizen the right to the ballot initiative, guarantees every citizen the procedures necessary to take their own initiative, and by gathering enough signatures, get an idea for a law on the ballot and then vote on it in every jurisdiction, from federal to local. Currently, only 24 states in the Union empower their citizens with the right to make law directly of, by, and for ourselves. And if there's a way, if there is a way for us to take back America, it's got to be at the ballot box. That's the gentle revolution. That's how we do it in this country. Unfortunately, the multiple systems that make this democracy work or fail aren't working. And in my opinion, we need a national discussion on the functions of democracy, on how these systems either work or don't work. And as yet, that discussion hasn't unified. We've got single issue ideas, publicly financed campaigns and instant runoff voting and open presidential debates and the reenfranchisement of felons and making Voter Tuesday national holiday and making ballot access easier. But these groups haven't unified yet. And when they unify, we can have the strength to push that discussion of the ballot box and how it works for us into a national discussion that has all the power of the civil rights movement, the environmental rights movement, and so forth. So that's my piece. Go to vote.org, check it out, and if you like it, you can vote right. That'll direct you into Gravel's work on this. 15 years of effort by a very significant individual. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's start the national discussion right now. Next, Lynn Stewart.
I think the problem is, Garda, after you say to the person in Kroger or your contractor, we need a revolution, what do you say next? Because they want to say, what does that mean? Does that mean we throw out the whole government, or does that mean we throw the rascals out, the terrible people that are there? How do we organize this? My own sense, and I'm going to use my next 30 seconds to just say, my own sense is we have a vast education to give the people who are perhaps now coming to us, because 81% say they think the country is headed in the wrong direction. So we have that job to do, and I think we can only do it by putting forth whatever we think is the road to that, because all of these roads lead to change. So in other words, I might not say, let's have ballot initiative. I might say, well, let's get out there and make sure that everybody who's going to court under these horrible Patriot Act laws has support from the community. Let's get out there. We each get there our own way, and I think we have to organize other people to that. At this point, no change will take place until we have organized more people to understand what that means and to desire it. To know that it may mean sacrifice, but to know that it's the only way to go.
You're here.
My name is Charles Sullivan, and I would just like to say that revolution, most folks, when you mention the word revolution, probably think of armed rebellion. And that certainly is one form of revolution, but I think that's rather stereotypical. Revolution can mean simply a change in the dominant paradigm, a different way of viewing the world, a different way of viewing politics, a whole change in consciousness, essentially. Now, I think it's obvious that needs to happen, but I do not have any faith in this political system to accomplish that. This political system is totally under the control of capital. And I don't see any way of getting out from under that influence with the tools we have at hand. I think we have to work out of the system, outside of the system by and large. I don't think we're going to have revolution at the ballot box. I think we'll have token revolution perhaps. You know, all the politicians are running on the platform of change, and yet they all are driven by the same ideology. Pretty much the economic policies of Milton Friedman, Chicago School of Economics. We're all under the influence of what Naomi Klein calls the shock doctrine. The American people are shocked and awed. They're disoriented. They do not know what to do. I'm not sure that I know what to do. The only thing I can posit is that we have to change the consciousness of the people in this country and the people of the world. How you do that, I'm not so sure I can say, especially in the time slot permitted. But we need this change of consciousness, a fundamental shift in values, a fundamental shift in how we see the world. And we need a massive education campaign. This isn't going to happen overnight. What we're doing is sowing seeds and building a good foundation. I wish it could happen very quickly, but it's not very likely that it will. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Ellen Brown. I think revolutions occur when, particularly in times of depression, which is what we're facing, when a lot of people start losing their jobs and their homes, they can be mobilized. But what we need is not just a protest movement, but actually economic clout, a movement with some financial power. And we can get that because the banks have actually screwed up in these mortgages they've written and the loans they've written. There are good defenses to those, to foreclosure right now. So if we can mobilize all these homeowners who are losing their homes and all the homeowners who are upside down in their mortgages, we could have a very significant force that could actually have more influence in Congress, I think, than the banks do, because the banks actually are collapsing and they need to be investigated.
Don't forget the renters as well.
Okay, the renters, yeah.
And how would you organize those people? How would you organize those people losing their homes?
What do you mean by mobilize? Can you define?
I'm thinking of a lobby or a union. Well, what I would like to do is prepare some simple pleadings, simple responses that homeowners who are losing their homes, I'm an attorney, so I could, simple answers. One defense that they have is that in order to foreclose on a home, you have to produce the notes. And all these subprime loans have been sliced and diced up into mortgage-backed securities. They don't have the notes. In none of these cases do they have the notes, and there are two major lawsuits from last fall, federal cases that didn't allow the banks to foreclose on these homes because they didn't have the paperwork. But that's probably true in every single case.
Where would you get the list of people who are foreclosing? We would
Being
need
foreclosed
that.
on?
Yeah.
Well, that's it. We would just have to, I could do like a little YouTube thing and say, don't let your home go by default. That's what most people do. They think they don't have any defense. They can't afford an attorney, and so they just let it go. But if we let them know that they have good defenses and just say, right here, and we'll give you a little packet of, point you in the right direction.
So there's no way for us to get such a list?
Yes, there is. Thanks, Alan. It's a great introduction to what I was about to say. There is a list. You can go with your computer in every community. There, if you go to any broker and you're looking to buy, you can say, what's up for foreclosure? And they have the list, and they'll produce this list for you because they want to do business with you. You have a different intent, but that list is there. And then you could run with how to get that list.
And then you can contact the previous
You could
owner.
contact that owner. Now, what I wanted to say is that Alan gave me a great introduction. We're getting very wordy here. One of the things that we have to do with people who are organizing, and I have two feelings about what's happening in America today. I'm very sad when I see that we're about to go into a food shortage. I'm sad about the foreclosures, but I'm very happy. Because after 45 years of trying to talk to people who have no interest, they say, hey, aren't you the guy who said? And all you have to do when you're talking to people is be right. Take your own program. I can't talk to you like Alan, and many people here can talk to you, but I can talk to you about what I know about. And I tell people what's coming. And one of the things I said back in the 60s, if you think this is bad, you ain't seen nothing yet. The education system is going to fall apart, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Doing my type of organizing in my community and building organizations in my community. This presidential debacle is, boy, this is up my alley. I grinned when I saw Hillary and Obama, and I says, look at this, Hillary, Obama, and McCain. What a field day this is for us to organize. And then, yes, and I'm going to jump all over this. with Mitch, etc. We're going to do our organizing work in Brooklyn and New York, and we're going to talk about Cynthia McKinney. We have a big Haitian community. Wow! You know, Cynthia was in Haiti. Where were these other bums? And I'm going to use this. I'm happy. People are hurting. People are hungry. There are food riots in Haiti, and I've been trying to organize a Haitian community for a long time. Wow, they're giving me, ammo. We can do this job. They're giving us more ammo. Don't feel bad. Feel good on that, because we can do the job. They're making it possible for us. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Tom Palumbo from Norfolk, Virginia, and I'm of the opinion that solidarity doesn't mean necessarily that I adopt your position, but I will stand with you in opposition to a common opponent. And as we gather here this weekend, I come to look at a number of different tactics. And I think they're all valid. I'm not sure which straw is going to break the camel's back, but they're piling up. And be it civil disobedience, direct action, labor organizing, supporting GI revolt and dissent, building community. These are all, and of course the electoral process. These are all part of a greater strategy. And I'm also subscribed to the belief it's a swarm method. You can swat me away, but the swarm keeps on attacking. And that's together we can do what I can't do alone. Thank you.
Is there anybody that can't hear me in the back? Okay, as fellow Vietnam veteran Roy Bourgeois said yesterday, and I've thought many times, we suffer from ignorance in so many cases. That's one of our major problems. Now, I'd like to address the Declaration of Independence. I think is an excellent idea, and there are two major comments I'd like to make in connection with that. And first, I know, besides the ignorance, we do have some callous, calculating, and cruel corporate people. So I'm not naive about that. There are people that know exactly what they're doing, and it's vicious. Okay. We start out in the course of, I'm a Yankee. There was one on the Mayflower named Howland. And they said to the Queen, we aren't going to Pennsylvania, Virginia, we'll never make it. We're landing here. We're going to make up our own minds what we do. The hell with the permit that you gave us. And we're sort of in that mode right now. In fact, I think that's the beginning of things. One thing I saw, to digress just for a second, the I hate Thanksgiving. Well, that upset me a little bit, but I understand, yeah, we did clobber the Native Americans, no question about it. But the world, the first words in the Declaration of Independence went in the course of human events. Well, human events involves evolution and the history of the Bible. It's filled with empires. So be careful dumping on the American Empire. I want to dump the American Empire. But we're at the end of a long train of abuses of human history. And we need to wage peace. Final thing is with the presidency. Yeah, I'm as upset about Bush is a Yankee. I'm embarrassed to call myself a Yankee after that. But I do want a respectable, honorable, and moral president. That's all I've got to say.
My name is William Cox. I'm a retired attorney from California, and once upon a time I represented all of you, at least those who were alive in the 1970s. As a former police officer, I once worked on Nixon's National Advisory Commission and was privileged to write the role of the police in America for his National Advisory Commission on Criminal Justice Standards and Goals. Later, in private practice, I left the district attorney's office and formed a public interest law practice in California. Among the things I did was that I represented a survivor of Auschwitz in the Holocaust case. I also more recently represented an undisclosed client and published the suppressed Dead Sea Scrolls. But when I represented you, I filed a petition under the First Amendment in the Supreme Court on behalf of every citizen in the United States, asking that the Supreme Court recognize that our government was no longer responsive to individual peoples and that our vote was no longer effective. And I asked the Supreme Court to require the other two branches of government to hold a national policy referendum every 4 years when we vote for president, that we, the people, make the policy of this country, and that we vote on the 10 or 12 most critical issues facing the country for the next 4 years. The Supreme Court did not hear my petition. However, the LA Times did say that it was one of the 10 more interesting cases that they chose not to hear that year. The next year, also, you may not remember this, but I ran for president against Jimmy Carter and Ronald Reagan. My position was that we should elect our president by a write-in ballot. As a matter of national protest, we should all do this. I also said we should abandon war as a matter of national policy, that we should adopt a police method for dealing with these petty dictators and so forth around the world who harm their own citizens and harm us. We should abandon war as a matter of policy. That we should take our case to Congress if we're the president and ask for a national resolution to arrest these people, to stop them from doing what they're doing, take them into custody if necessary, force them to go to the World Court of Justice at The Hague and defend their government. I wasn't elected. I did attend a press conference at the Holiday Inn out in Santa Barbara as the press corps gathered there below the mountain as Reagan was up on top of the hill. We went in, we got drunk together, and I said that I would not demand a recount. Over the years, I have evolved this. There is a site you can go to. It's called The Voters, thevotersplural.org. There you will find a national ballot. The voters' position is we want a peaceful political evolution. Not a revolution, an evolution, not a revolt, but an evil. And then it's up. Go to the site. That is what we promote. It's like Gandhi going to the sea. It's a simple... Say it again. The voters, all. That's it. The voters, plural. The voters with an S, .org. Thank you, folks.
I wanted to point out the obvious, which is that there aren't very many young people here. And I guess I wanted to warn everybody that to not go back to your dinner tables and have a nice little dinner with your neighbor and talk about the things that we've talked about here, and with people that know these things and that with people that agree with you. I think we really need to go to the people that don't know these things and that people that don't know what's out there. And I think we need to go to the high schools and we need to go to the colleges, because where are the high schoolers? Where are the college students here? And I learned so much here, for instance, Food Not Bombs, and I'm very excited to help volunteer with that. But with students that don't know that, and with students that posters at grocery stores isn't going to grab their attention to come to a conference about a revolution, which wasn't on the sign, it was building a new world conference, so start the revolution, maybe we'll grab some young people's attention. But I think we really need to focus our energy on that, because that is the driving force of revolutions in the past, and so I suppose that's all I wanted to say, and I hope everybody will really try to work with young people and tell them what's out there.
Thank you, Andy. This raises a great issue. We need an organizing committee to get into the high schools and to do this kind of work with young people. So maybe that's one of the great things that will come out of this conference, some sort of organizing committee to follow through with many of these great ideas.
I'm Steve Schafferman with Citizen Policies Advocates. I've got a new book called Peaceful Positive Revolution, and I'd like to ask you all, would you like $800 or $1,000 a month tax-free?
Yeah, not enough.
Maybe it's not enough, and we'll work for more. But the point is that economists I work with have said that we can provide a guaranteed income for every adult citizen of approximately that amount without raising taxes, simply by cutting the government programs that become superfluous. In particular, a lot of the military programs, which are really hidden jobs programs. When everyone has a basic income for food and shelter, there will no longer be any rationale for government spending to create jobs. A lot of the rationale for war is about jobs and economic growth. A lot of the problems in Iraq, and our political system has so broken down that so-called liberal Democrats like Nancy Pelosi routinely vote for military spending as a jobs program for their constituents. So we've got to attack things at the root. We've got to really be radical, and I think the guaranteed basic income is the most powerful way to do that. Moreover, this idea of guaranteed income was a mainstream idea in the 1960s. It was supported by, among others, Milton Friedman, Richard Nixon, Daniel Patrick Moynihan, as well as many from the left, such as George McGovern, John Kenneth Galbraith. Nixon's family assistance plan passed in the House with 2/3 of the vote. We can revive these ideas. These ideas helped spark the mass movements in the 1930s that won us Social Security, helped spark the progressive and populist movements in the 1890s. What more powerful way can we use to approach young people in particular who see the problems in front of us, to approach the disenfranchised in our communities who are being so harmed, to approach people in other countries who can also benefit from a guaranteed income? What more powerful thing can we do than to say we want to provide guaranteed economic security for you and your family and your neighbors? So I think this is a way that we can organize all of our issues that will unite all of us in making this campaign. Thank you.
And let's try to keep this focused on how we organize. Not just getting our own personal ideas across, but how we are going to do it. What kind of organizing committee we will set up.
So, just to say my name again for those who requested it, it's Stephen Schafferman, S-H-A-F-A-R-M-A-N. And we organize by talking to everyone we meet.
Brand Lyon. Good morning. I felt the impulse to jump in the line because I wanted to add maybe a Brand Lyon. Yes. I come here not as an expert, not as with a long line of credential in social activism, but as a poet and a musician to partake in the program of which I've been thrilled to be a part of. But I've heard throughout the conference the phrase revolution in values evoked throughout, and I had some feelings about that. Of course, I believe it's a revolution of values, and values are formed by our consciousness, so it's a revolution in consciousness. Now, many of us here have had a long history of social activism, and some of us are fairly new to the game. Some of us maybe woke up post 9/11. Other of us knew the score before that. Some of us had an insight to the power in politics and how it plays out. I come as a poet and musician that seeks another way to reach people, but I also have 25 years experience as a clinical social worker, working with children, working with teens and families in both child welfare, juvenile justice, adolescent therapy, and so on. So what I've taken from that as a social worker is, A, you have to learn how to listen. And that means you have to step off your viewpoint now and then and listen to somebody else. And those people are going to be angry, they're going to be stubborn, they're going to be what you consider to be wrong-headed. But that's them. Now, who do we need to change? First, we need to change ourselves. So it's a revolution within before any revolution without. And then once we're in the place where we can listen, and that means listen to those that don't want to listen to us, because it's not that anyone here in this room we need to sway and convert. We're preaching to the choir. We know this. We are seeds that go out into the community. As the young lady said, where are the young people? Well, guess what? A lot of this stuff is going to take care of itself, because something else I've taken away from my years as social worker. Change happens at a point of crisis. We are in a point of crisis. And a lot of this stuff will take care of itself because we will be reacting to certain forces that we will perceive as beyond our control. But that is the time to change people's minds. We should be prepared to deal with anger, confusion, disruption, and so forth. Keep a clear head. Know what you're saying. Truth to power. Do your homework besides knowing what's going on. Know what's going on inside so you can speak your message clearly, powerfully, and unflinchingly. It's going to take a lot of courage. I applaud anyone here who has put themselves out on the line like this because we are the people that the government wants to see go away.
Yes.
Thank you, Brent Lyon. It's been pointed out to me that what we're doing right now is kind of from the top down. People are stating their views and there's not enough dialogue going on. So we'll try something a little different. After each person speaks, and let's keep it down 1 to 2 minutes, 2 minutes maximum. Then we'll have a chance to question that speaker and generate some of those ideas and pass those ideas around, and let's see how that works. Okay, this is a work in progress. Let's go with the flow and try this out.
Okay, is this working? Yeah, okay. I'm Pete Sutherland, and last night after yesterday's events, I was sleeping. I'm sorry. I was sleeping, and I woke my friend up who I came here with, and said, I'm having a vision. And that vision is that, and I stated it yesterday, it was starting to come to my mind, but, we're all here for a reason. And it has something to do with this particular place, Western North Carolina. It has something to do with this particular town and region. We're all here for a reason. And we're all part of the body, human, and we're all part of Earth. And I'm a hollerer. I holler at people, and I have bruised people's feelings. Cindy Sheehan has too. What I have to say is that we really need to, if we have killed 1 million people in Iraq, we really need to say to ourselves, they bruised my feelings, they hurt my feelings, don't be so thin-skinned. We don't need to separate from one another. We need to bind together closer than ever, even if we've been bruised by somebody like me who hollers at them. I hollered at the gay people, 400 of them. I was hollering at the top of my lungs. You need to accept people with HIV/AIDS in your hearts and your minds, over and over, hollering, and they were shocked. And they don't particularly like that I did that. They'll forgive me. I hollered at the veterans who I stand a vigil with in Asheville, North Carolina. And I had a little high-gravity beer, like Cindy Sheehan said, it helps us get together, but it also, high gravity, maybe not so good an idea. But I hollered at them, and they were a little upset with me. So, and I might have used some 4-letter words in that hollering too, by the way. And then I said, well, we have killed 1 million people, and we need to put this in perspective. Is us bruising each other's feelings occasionally going to divide us? No, we can't let that happen. What's happened with this? Okay, fine. Thank you very much. Okay.
Morning. My name is Rex Green. I'm here by mistake. I put in the first poster station, and there weren't enough poster stations, so I got dropped from the program. Unfortunately, there's not time for me to give you my paper, and the purpose of my being here right now is to tell you some ideas about how to organize. So I'm going to focus on that. But at any rate, my paper was about creating a new calendar to take charge of our time. And if you look at the current calendar, you'll see there's so many craziness in the number of days in the month doesn't follow the lunar cycles, et cetera, et cetera. It really is time to take that on. And I think that, like a couple other speakers have said, we have a lot of different ideas, but we're going to have to figure out a way to get behind something and move it. And so my first suggestion is that someone take responsibility for writing up the main ideas we've been presenting here. this past 2.5 days and circulated around all of us for confirmation. And in the process, we keep this rational and we come up with something that everybody could agree to sign and get behind. And from that, we can then prioritize what it is we're going to move on. My second suggestion relates to the purpose of my calendar change, which is it's be far more important to track the dawn of civilization, which, although we all love being civilized, actually means we are a part of the problem. Civilization refers to cityfying. Cityfying occurred when wealthy farmers in the Mesopotamian Valley back in about 5000 BC decided that they could hire other people to work the fields and they could become lords and gods. Now these people hide behind their money and they make most of the decisions. So my other idea is that we need to write a story about this and circulate this story.
We've spent the past 2.5 days getting our ideas across to each other. It's time to focus on what we do next, as Garda said. Maybe the World Prout site would be a good focus for us to disseminate our ideas there and to contact each other through that site. Garda, is that amenable to you? WPA.org. Keep going to that site, and the conference will have an afterlife at that site.
I did want to say thank you to everybody here. And it has been wonderful to connect with so many wonderful people with so many different projects. As far as organizing, maybe we can create a listserv where people can peddle their ideas. But I sometimes feel like when I come to these things, like I'm in the old Jerusalem souk where there's, everybody's trying to peddle something, and we really spend very little time to try and organize. So that's why I think what Garda and what you all are trying to do is more important than us peddling our own ideas, so to speak. So I would urge everybody to think along those lines and to start to listen to other people and really form a group, an organizing committee, perhaps a listserv, perhaps some form of communication whereby we take some people who have a broader vision, people like Kathy Kelly, like Cindy Sheehan, who are not focused on a specific project, but who are focused globally, and have them in a steering committee of some sort that would help us then move along the line of forming an action. And the last thing I want to say, there's a National Assembly that's being hosted in Cleveland, Ohio, June 27th, 29th, 28th to 29th. And I urge everybody to go there because that's another way of organizing grassroots. And again, thank you. My cards, I'll leave them with the organizers, and people could connect with us that way. But I have to run, and I'm sorry I had to cut off in front of a few people. Thank you.
Thank you. And when you go to the next conference in Cleveland or wherever, be sure to say the secret word, Radford.
I'm Susan Livingston, and you can get in touch with me at area code 276-739-0047. My email address is susan@propeace.net. Please get in touch with me there. I'm going to send you there in just a minute here, because what I want to say about the shift in consciousness that we need in our organizing efforts is that I have a background in psycholinguistics, and I am so totally bought into the idea that our language determines our thought patterns. If we want a shift in consciousness, we need to watch our language. For example, who in the world are we to call ourselves Americans if we're not thinking about this entire North America, South America continent? I want to remind you that in the first 50 or 60 years of our Constitution's history, we spoke of the United States are, not the United States is. The United States are. If you could do that one thing in your mental thinking, and also when you're talking to other people, start talking about the United States are. Because our government governs by consent of the governed. And if we want to dismantle the federal government, we need to withdraw our consent. Okay? And I want to send you to propeace.net to look up my last blog entry. I came to this conference hoping very much to connect with the secession people. And I did some research at the Prout website on the secession movement and read everything I could get my hands on. And it turns out that these people are not racists. They are not neo-Confederates, although those people are in the movement. So what I want to get at here is the notion of connecting across differences. We've got to quit being so picky, okay? If we want to dismantle the federal government by nonviolent means, we need to ally with other people who want to dismantle the federal government by nonviolent means, even if their ideology is different from ours. Okay? It turns out that the League of the South, which is the one that most people talk about when they make that racist claim, is a lot harder on women than it is on people of color. But guess what? I'm willing to look the other way if we can work together towards a common goal. I'll do what I can. But meanwhile, am I going to reject them because they have a different ideology? Yes! I don't think so. Let's join together with people who we share a common cause with. Find that common ground, connect over it, and maybe you can bring them in. Maybe you can get that shift going on. But keep your goal in mind.
Lynn, a quick comment? Quick comment from you?
I just don't think we get anywhere by aligning ourselves with people whose ultimate goals are the opposite of our ultimate goals, whatever their intermediate goals may be. I mean, racism and sexism, I mean, what could be worse?
Two problems. We need to build alliances, we need to build bridges, and we need a strong core group with core values. So this is our conflict. This is something we must work out on the left.
My name is Richard Hayes Phillips, poet, musician, blazer of foot trails in the Adirondacks and the Blue Ridge, consulting geologist, former college professor. None of those reasons are why I was invited here. I spent 41 months investigating the stolen 2004 presidential election in Ohio. I'm the only one who actually assisted, with the assistance of others, photographed the forensic evidence. For those who, like me, wish to accomplish revolutionary change through peaceful means, I agree with the very first speaker that we need the power of initiative. There's a tactical problem, however. When we, the people, formed this imperfect union, we surrendered voluntarily all the power to the states or the federal government, and we would need a constitutional amendment to give ourselves the right of voter initiative. The only power we retain for ourselves is the right to vote. And we don't have free and fair elections in this country. And until we come to terms with that fact, no matter what ideology we have, no matter what our driving motivation, whether it's environmentalism like mine or whatever yours is, we're not going to be able to affect that change at the ballot box because our elections are rigged.
Yeah.
And the only way, well, let me answer. From my 41 months experience in investigating a rigged presidential election, I have concluded that the only way to restore free and fair elections in this country is to have paper ballots counted by hand at the polling place in full public view on election night, no matter how long it takes. Nothing else will restore faith and integrity in the vote count. Nothing else will prevent the breaches and chain of custody that make election rigging possible. And those who would make peaceful revolution impossible make violent revolution inevitable. And I don't want that to happen. So I don't want to go on because I only have 2 minutes. But if anybody wants to talk to me afterward or buy the book, I'll be here a little while after the roundtable discussion. It contains a CD with 1,200 photographs of ballots, poll books, and voter signature books from Ohio. Website? Oh, my website, yes. The book is called Witness to a Crime, and my business website is witnesstoacrime.com. And I'm hardly ever home, so I won't give my phone number. My name is Richard Hayes Phillips. My least unreliable email address, since I am a person of interest, is richardhayesphillips@yahoo.com. That's Hayes, Phillips with a double L.
Short question back here.
One comment to make. I'm from California. We have ballot initiatives. It is a very interesting process. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The way it doesn't work is your enemies are also putting initiatives on the ballot, and they look the same. And then you read about them, and you can't figure out which one to vote for. That's all I have to say.
Another follow-up?
And no more electorals. Every vote needs to count. End of story.
But that's got to change.
When we change the Constitution, let's do away with the Electoral College, once and for all.
Hi, my name is Mitchell Cohen from Brooklyn, New York. Wanted to call people's attention back to the Declaration of Independence that was provided here. I signed it. I don't know if other people signed it. I want to encourage people to sign it. Doesn't necessarily have everything in it that I would like to see in it. There are some things in there that maybe I would like to see worded differently, but it doesn't matter. People need to sign it because in general, the way we want to move forward, I believe, and in specific things it lists, provide a basis for listing to begin to act on in a programmatic way and take actions around the specific items that are listed here. And I'd like to see a coordinating committee formed from the people who signed the Declaration of Independence. From among those people, then those people could choose who should be on the coordinating committee. I'd also like to see actions begin to take place around some of the key issues here in a programmatic way. One, immediately, unilaterally withdraw from Iraq and Afghanistan. Number one, and increase benefits to the soldiers coming back instead of cutting them. Part of that is support military resistors. This is what a lot of groups are not yet doing. And three, give direct material assistance to the resistance around the world, in Iraq and elsewhere. Okay, so those are part of what I would like to see. This document creates the basis, I think, to reframe what the national debate is, to reframe what they call the left on CNN and elsewhere. We need to reframe the issues as they're presented and the ways in which we answer them. And I listed a whole list of programmatic things that I'll write up. I won't put them out here, but from what the workshops were. But end the war now, restore civil liberties now, and so forth.
Stay there, Michael. Glenn Martin has a quick comment.
Yeah, I just would like to respond to the Declaration of Independence, which I think is a wonderful declaration, and I've argued in my writings that we should be free of the nation state in every country in the world and begin to organize ourselves as human beings on this planet rather than as members of states. However, the last line of that declaration is very problematic, and I would not sign it unless it were different. The last line of that declaration speaks of sovereign bioregions. You can't have sovereign anything territorial, any territory that are sovereign in the world without getting ourselves right back into this world competition of war and mutual distrust and so on. You've got to have human beings united. So I recommend that these last words of that declaration be changed to, we recommend an interdependent federation of sustainable bioregions under democratic laws applying equally to all human beings. So that's my recommendation, and I would sign it if it said something like that.
Thank you, Glenn. I had similar reservations myself about that, and I suggested that we might want to call it a declaration of interdependence.
There you go.
Okay, next.
On this topic,
And Lynn?
can we put that to a vote to change those words? It's not a major difference except to the people to whom it is, without opening it up to wordsmithing, because we could be doing that all afternoon, well, morning rather. But can we change those 3 words and attract more people to signing it? We should certainly do it. So the proposal was made, it was seconded. Can we vote on changing it to bio-regions under democratic law, and if you'll repeat the rest of it.
I'm happy to put it to a vote now, or shall we establish a committee about that?
This is brainstorming.
I would say we should put it on the website, WPA, allow a listserv response from everybody. Maybe other people have suggestions for change to the declaration, and work it out that way.
Why can't we hear what it's meant to say? I mean, we need clarification.
Well, it says here, it's actually very clear. It's referring to economically sovereign. It's not referring to politically sovereign. So I don't see why there should be a problem. I think we need to. Go ahead. It says here, Glenn, we will endeavor to promote economically sovereign regions. So I don't see any problem with that. I'm not talking political at all. I said it says economically here.
Yeah, but
Political is a different thing. The main purpose here is to protest the crimes of the government. It's all here.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and then the goal, in my mind, is economic democracy. And economic democracy comes through economically sovereign, how do we define sovereign? Independent? Economic, and change it to independent, sustainable bioregions. It's very clear. Okay, but
This is, the lady was talking about language, how important it is. It is extremely important. We all have to follow her advice and be real clear about our language, and it's not going to happen immediately. It's not going to happen at this moment. It's going to take a little time to do this. So I think if we follow Lynn's idea and get this declaration on the website, and let's get the discussion going there, and continue right now.